March is a fraud prevention month, and with increasing complexities in immigration processes, it is very important for each one of us to be aware and well informed about unauthorized immigration practitioners, also referred as UAPs. Joining us today is Meredith Lent-Hunchak, Director of Fortitude Immigration Consulting. She is a registered Canadian immigration consultant and a member of CICC and CAPIC. Meredith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start by asking you, what are exactly UAPs and warning signs that individuals should be aware of when dealing with potential unauthorized practitioners?
Thank you. It's a good question. UAP are unauthorized practitioners, which means that anybody who wants to practice immigration in Canada must be licensed. And those RCICs are licensed with a regulatory body. Now, those who are UAPs are not licensed. Now, they may be licensed in your country or the countries that you are dealing with, but they are not licensed to do immigration in Canada, which means for you, potential scams, problems with your files, misrepresentation, the fact that you're paying obscene fees that you might not be able to get back. There's no recourse. They are not held accountable for anything that they are doing and anything potentially that they are going to be causing you to be doing, which means that potentially you could be doing fraudulent documentation. You could be banned from Canada potentially for those documentation. They're promising jobs that potentially they don't actually have. Your applications are submitted incorrectly, or they have fraudulent documents that they are submitting. There's a whole bunch of information that you're causing yourself potentially to have issues with, and your future in Canada could definitely be jeopardized by that.
Have you ever helped a client who was a victim of UAP?
I did. I had a client who came to me seeking advice, and a lot of times people are scared to say that they have been a victim of fraud, and that's the other problem. And once I did find out and we worked together to get some information, they did tell me the information and the details pertaining to their case. They were charged obscene amounts of dollars, which were in US currency, and they were promised a job. The application was refused, obviously, because they didn't have the qualifications to meet the program, and they came to me. Now, one factor we went through is don't be scared to talk to people about it. If you have been scammed, it's very important that you talk to people and you report it. There are agencies that deal with this, but if you don't report it, more and more people continue to get scammed by these agents. And it's very important that we stop that process. So we identified who they should be contacting and reporting it to. I wrote a letter on their behalf to this agent stating that they were not legally allowed to perform these services in Canada, that I was an RCIC licensed, and that they should refund the money. And because of my letter, they did get their money back, and they did report it to the proper organizations within Canada.
What would be your advice for someone who is choosing to use an unlicensed consultant?
Then it's buyer beware. For sure. You are signing an agreement with people who are not legally allowed to perform those services in Canada. So there's no use of representation form that's submitted for one. And there's a reason for that, because they can't, which means they're lying to the government. Then they are forcing you potentially to be misrepresenting yourself, because even if somebody else does your application, you are accountable for that application and the information that's in that application. The reason why we are licensed is we're held to a higher standard and an accountability for the decisions and the work that we do, and ethical and professional conduct. So you using unlicensed people means that you're charged fees. You are doing things potentially that are going to cause you to be banned in Canada. You potentially can't get those monies back. You could be submitting documents that potentially are going to hurt your future. Even if you get into Canada now as a temporary foreign worker, that doesn't mean that you could be permanent, because you've done something that's caused that, because you've used somebody who is not authorized to perform those services. Just like the story about the students from India, they did deal with an agent who was not licensed potentially, and they got themselves in a lot of trouble and potentially could have been banned from Canada. You're not allowed to study anymore. They've paid huge amounts of money. You're putting yourself at risk, and the money that you're paying out, and you can't get that money back potentially. And therefore, if you choose to do that, you have to be accountable for the decisions you made. And unfortunately, that could affect your future in Canada. So always go and check to make sure somebody is licensed through the CICC website, and only deal with those in good standing.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith, for enlightening us on the risk associated with unauthorized practitioners. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you very much for having me, and be safe, everybody. Thank you.